This episode is brought to you by State Farm. From your morning podcast to your afternoon playlist, State Farm knows you personalize your entire day, and that's why State Farm helps you personalize your insurance with the State Farm Personal Price Plan. It offers coverage options that help protect what you care about most at an affordable price just for you. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Prices vary by state. Options selected by customer. Availability and eligibility may vary.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
All right, so let's go ahead and jump into it, man. We got some news here for the run. And starting off with the NFL, because like I said, it's a lot of news here. Anyway, so the first big news that we received ahead of all of the free agency deals was that DK Metcalf signed a new 5-year, $150 million contract with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, the Steelers, they did have to trade with the Seattle Seahawks. So they traded a 2025 second-round pick, and DK Metcalf was included in that, but ultimately he did sign a new deal with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Then you had the New York Jets. They signed Justin Fields to a new deal, 2 years, $40 million. Justin Fields, now a New York Jet. He's reunited with his old teammate and Garrett Wilson at wide receiver. So crazy deal there. And then now, obviously, that's the same duo from Ohio State when they both were there. So I'm interested to see how that goes. The Eagles, they traded for Kenny Pickett, and he signed with the Cleveland Browns, or they traded with the Cleveland Browns. I'm sorry. The Eagles, they traded Kenny Pickett to the Cleveland Browns for a 2025 fifth-round pick and Dorian Thompson-Robinson. Now, you also have the 49ers in the mix as well. Cornerback Charjavius Ward, he signed a new deal with them, 3 years, $60 million to the Indianapolis Colts. So great pickup for the Colts. They've been making some moves as well, moving very quiet, but definitely some impactful moves there. The Miami Dolphins and Zach Wilson reached an agreement on a 1-year, $6 million deal. The Patriots, they also been in the mix a lot, and they're signing quarterback Josh Dobbs to a 2-year deal. And then also the Rams, they signed wide receiver Devontae Adams to a 2-year deal worth $46 million with $26 million guaranteed. Devontae Adams is no longer a New York Jet. He is now a Los Angeles Ram. Now, as we continue on, it gets a little crazier. And the Bears, this is why I gave them an award of, really winning the offseason. So they agreed to a 3-year deal up to $42 million with center Drew Dalman from the Atlanta Falcons. He's a free agent, so it was just a new contract for him, but definitely worth it. Dalman is a hell of a player. Big loss for the Atlanta Falcons, unfortunately. The Jaguars, they signed Jordan Lewis, the cornerback, to a 3-year deal worth $30 million. Then another cornerback, Carlton Davis, he agreed to a 3-year deal worth $60 million with the New England Patriots. So it's crazy. Patriots, they're still in the mix now. They've been killing it. But the Jaguars, they're still there too. So they signed wide receiver De'Ami Brown to a 1-year deal worth $10 million. Solid pickup. De'Ami Brown had a great year. And then the Buffalo Bills, they signed wide receiver Joshua Palmer to a 3-year deal worth $36 million. Cardinals is out here as well. They got the new pass rusher Joshua Sweat. They signed him to a 4-year deal, $76 million there. And then Josh Allen, he really kind of just set the record straight. He got the largest guarantee in NFL history, $250 million. He signed a contract with the Buffalo Bills, agreeing to a 6-year deal, $330 million contract extension. Just truly crazy there. And now he's one of the highest paid ever and the largest guarantee ever. Just wild. But the Seattle Seahawks, they didn't sign an incredible deal that large, but they did find themselves a new quarterback, considering Geno Smith is no longer there, and I'll explain in a second. But the Seahawks, they signed Sam Darnold to a 3-year deal worth $100 million. I think that's something that's solid for Sam Darnold. And then, as I mentioned, Geno Smith, he's headed over to the Las Vegas Raiders for a 3rd-round pick. Now, this wasn't a free agent deal. He was traded over there. So the Seahawks, they ended up getting a 3rd-round pick in return. And Geno Smith, he headed to the Raiders. So it's a lot of crazy stuff going out there. And again, there's probably going to be so much more by the time you even hear this. So just keep your ears open and you got to hear it. But last thing I got here is the Atlanta Falcons. Man, they lost a good one. I'll put it that way. You know, I almost want to give a moment of silence for the legend that they just lost on their team. But Grady Jarrett, he's now now a Chicago Bear, which is even crazier to think of. But this is a dude in Grady Jarrett, man, displayed a great amount of professionalism, showed up to work every day, stayed healthy, was consistent in his production on the field, and he really gave a huge bang for his buck in the Atlanta Falcons. But I know it's a lot of people out there, especially Falcons fans, where it's like, well, why didn't they just sign him again? You got to keep talent like that. And I understand that. I'm the first to tell you, hey, you don't be cheap when it comes to paying for good talent and paying for production. You can't be cheap in that aspect. However, the thing is, with the Atlanta Falcons, I don't think they necessarily were being cheap when they were trying to get rid of Grady Jarrett, and also same with Drew Dalman. Like, you got to remember, like, that Grady Jarrett, he just signed a 3-year, $43 million deal with the Chicago Bears. Falcons did not have that type of money. Drew Dalman just signed a 3-year, $42 million deal with the Chicago Bears. Falcons did not have enough money to pay both of them and also continue on to make moves and build the rest of the roster. So for me, I'm like content that, okay, yeah, Falcons didn't get their main guys back, but at least I know that there's still room for other guys to go around, and there's still room for moves to be made without actually hurting us and putting us in a hole. We're finally above the cap space, so we're not in the negative anymore. But, I mean, I'd much rather players get let go than overpay at their age and then overpay for a guy who's only going to be in the NFL and going to be at that elite skill set for so much longer. So I don't want to get hurt down the line. And that's probably my biggest, that's my biggest thought when it comes to bringing in new people and possibly getting rid of people. So right now, because the Atlanta Falcons don't really have much on the D-line, that's still an area that we're struggling with. In terms of finding people to put on the D-line, maybe even drafting people. But I'm hoping Terry Fontenot continues to put people in the right places. I expect, in the draft for us to grab a defensive lineman for sure. If anything, an O-lineman just to add a little depth there. But for sure, we need an edge rusher, man. And there's a lot of edge rushers in the draft that the Falcons can continue on and grab. Like, I mean, with the 15th pick, that's not an awful pick. Like, you still got a lot of people. I mean, we may not obviously get Abdul Carter, which I would love, but I mean, monster edge rusher, but there's still a lot of guys out there, man. Georgia still got 2 dogs out there, Mikael Williams, and you still got Jalen Walker. So I don't know how far those guys will go down, but I'm just going to trust that Falcons will continue on to make moves. And then obviously you want to keep talent there while you have, a good quarterback and while you have some pieces going. So, letting Grady Jarrett walk and letting Drew Dalman walk as well, I think it's okay. And honestly, you know what? I'll even go out on a whim and say this. It might sound a little crazy hearing the initial thoughts. Okay, I get Grady Jarrett, we kind of had to let go, but some people are mad about Drew Dalman, and I'm not really upset about Drew Dalman. Yeah, he's an all-pro. He's a great center. He's very young. He's got a huge future ahead of him. But I've seen him also make a lot of mistakes this season, too. So don't get it twisted. I know Dalman is good, and I'm glad he's going with the Bears. I'm glad he got paid. But I'm not upset that the Atlanta Falcons did not pay him or overpay him for what he's done so far with the organization. Because there was a lot of bad snaps that I seen in this previous season. And maybe it wasn't all on him. Maybe it was the cadence that was throwing him off. But it was far too many bad snaps. And I know Dalman is good, and I think he'll thrive with the Bears. They got a good little setup over there going on. But for the Falcons, still got some pieces. We brought back Jake Matthews. which is huge. Also, another big O-line piece there. We still got Lindstrom there. So, I mean, it's not completely all or nothing with the Atlanta Falcons right now. We still got pieces to work with, and it's not like losing one center is going to just make us plummet in terms of the offensive productivity. So, what I'm expecting here is let's go in the draft. Let's grab a defensive lineman. Let's continue to make moves in free agency. Maybe we bring in other guys on cheaper contracts, which is good. Or I'm always open to trading and somehow getting more draft picks to get people on cheaper contracts, because based on what I've seen over the past 4 to 5 years, that seems to be the route to go. Like, go ahead, get these guys from the draft, get them on a smaller contract, and elevate them. That way, you're getting a big bang for your buck. And obviously, if they deserve the higher pay, then you do it. You send them on another 3-year deal. You send them on another 2-year deal, whatever the case is. But as of right now, I don't think the Falcons are ruined. We still got plenty of talent there. I mean, the offense is still going to thrive, at least in my opinion. So I hope so. But other than that, no, man, that's all I got for y'all. I appreciate you for kicking it with me, hanging, especially if you listen to the whole episode, man. I definitely appreciate it. Leave us a quick take on the voicemail line, 219-413-9405. And, of course, I'll play your take back. Let me know what you think about all the free agency stuff. I'm curious to who you think is the winner of free agency so far, or what team has had the most explosive free agency so far. Like I said, the Bears obviously doing really good so far this offseason. They won the offseason last year, but was terrible during the regular season. And then this year, it's kind of looking like a similar thing of them winning the offseason. But you got to keep in mind, Jaguars done made some moves. Steelers done made a lot of moves. Patriots done made some good moves. And I'm on the side. I know it's still teams out there that ain't make nothing happen, but I'm on the side of I'd rather make a correct move or no move at all before I go out here and lay an egg and make my franchise, make my team worse. So just keep that in mind unless you're a Cowboys fan. If you're a Cowboys fan, you just stink. Your team stinks. I'm sorry. I haven't bullied Cowboys fans in a long time. So, I mean, excuse me for doing it. It's finally able to be relevant in bullying the Cowboys. But other than that, look, that's all I got, man. I appreciate you for kicking it. Follow us on Instagram at The Run Podcast. Follow the personal page as well at I am Manny Wilson. And then follow on YouTube as well at The Run Podcast, TikTok at The Run Podcast, Instagram at The Run Podcast. Other than that, send it to a cousin, a brother, a friend, a family member, coworker, anyone you know who enjoys sports. And I promise you they will not mind. But I'll be back later on next week, or later on this week, actually. It's only Monday. Damn. All right, well, I'll be back later on this week, and so on and so on. And you got a positive note, so not just yet. All right, a positive note. How could I almost forget the positive note? Wow, that was almost terrible of me. I'm sorry about that, especially if you look forward to it. For the positive note, man, I'm just going to go out here and say, sometimes the challenges are put there to make you a little bit better. Sometimes things don't go your way because it's prepping you for something in the future. I mean, how can you ever learn if you already know everything? So, the challenges that's presented in front of you, be grateful for them. Try and embrace the process. It's what I'm currently trying to do. Embrace the process of everything, working hard, all of that. Because eventually it's going to teach you how to win in the future. It's going to teach you how to help the next generation, how to help others, how to help those who are close to you, those who are not even close. So I'm going to just leave y'all with that. Yeah, man, just embrace the challenge. All right, now I'm out of here. I'll see y'all later on this week, and so on and so on and so on.